Ms. Hutton?
Here.
Mr. Morgan?
Here.
Mr. Trivett?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Fuller?
Here.
Mr. Carnifax?
Here. All right, since this is a called meeting, we're going to skip through some of the perfunctory stuff like the approval of the minutes and the board member announcements. Unless anybody's got something they need to share. No? Okay. We'll skip through the reports and go directly to open forum. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to address the board, now's the time to come forward. Nobody's rushing forward, so we'll go on to closed session.
All right. I make a motion that we go into convene and closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-37A 29 of the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended, for the purpose of discussing a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body in responses to our RFP on operations, and section 2.2-3711A6 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, for the purpose of discussion or consideration of the investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, where if made public initially, the financial interest of the authority would be adversely affected. A design update and consideration of facilities and comprehensive agreement update, funding agreement amongst localities.
Second. You want him to repeat the motion? Yes. No.
Ms. Hutton?
Aye.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Trivett?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax?
Aye. Adjourn to close.
Second.
Ms. Hutton?
Aye.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Trivett?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax?
Aye.
Second motion, I hereby move that each member certify that, to the best of their knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meetings requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board.
I'll second.
Ms. Hutton?
Aye.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Trivett?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax?
Aye. Okay. That brings us to public hearings. We don't have any, so we'll go on to unfinished business. And the first item is consideration and action regarding the proposed design and costs of Regional Sports Center. So we'll get Rick to come on up and we'll dig into this presentation. So this is intended to be sort of a little bit of a dry run of what we would show to our elected bodies. This is just an outline to remind people what is the HTRFA, because we were given an assignment, which I really think is the most important piece of the message, by all three elected bodies to go and put further context and define this idea of a regional sports center. And this body was formed to take that on, and we worked diligently toward that goal. So that brings us to this background slide, which gives you sort of all the key steps that have been taken, beginning with 2014, when we really started talking about this in earnest, and evolving all the way through where we are today, which is having answered all those primary questions about where would we put it, what would it look like, what kind of sports would be played there, what would the financial arrangement be, and now we're ready for commitments from the counties and the city to proceed with the project. So the remaining steps are just that, approval by each of the localities to make that financial commitment and allowing the HTRFA to execute the comprehensive development agreement so that MEB can get started and build us a facility with a guaranteed maximum price. Rick, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Trivett. Board, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. We have a few members of our team that can kind of represent all aspects of design, operating projections, construction. So at the end, if we have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those. But this has been an exciting process for us that we started a while back, and we're excited to be here at the red zone and hopefully an opportunity to advance this thing forward. Just a little reminder on our team. MEB is the lead as the design builder. Clark Nexsen is the lead architect and engineer of record. Guernsey Tingle is a consulting architect with us. Timmons is our civil engineer. Henderson is our site and civil contractor. and has been a part of the design process and the pre-con process. And Victus has been a part of the team to look at operations, consulting with us as we make adjustments to the floor plan to make sure that it meets the long-term operational requirements of the facility. Quick timeline here. Project was awarded in the fall of 2022. We got the notice to proceed after some negotiations on the interim agreement in March. There was a design committee established that included members of your board and Colonial Williamsburg to help steer the architecture, the exterior architecture design. That's really when design started in earnest. We designed throughout the summer to get to August and the 20% deliverable. And then we had Colonial Williamsburg wanted to do some additional archaeological studies to make sure that the site was adhering to their requirements. And after some adjustments made, we were able to advance to today in our 35% deliverable submissions. Some of those documents have already been provided. The price is due on the 30th, so here in a couple days. But we do have a number that we'll be sharing with you. The original scope included 160,000 square feet with 12 basketball courts that would be convertible to 24 volleyball courts and up to 36 pickleball courts. Included things like referee changing rooms and meeting rooms, food and beverage areas, storage, first aid, and other support spaces needed to make the building successful. During the interim agreement, we were directed to add or at least look at adding some additional scope, which included approximately 40,000 square feet of additional programming, enhancing the exterior architecture of the building, and be it through brick and glass and some additional roof features. We also were asked to look at a conversion turf system, and then a climbing rock and ninja gym area for both users during tournaments as well as local users during the week. High-level view of the sports center on the site and in relationship to the existing conditions. Again, this says at the Visitor Center of Colonial Williamsburg, and you can see the group arrivals building down here to the west of where we're proposed to put the sports center. It did shift a little bit through the interim agreement process, which has eliminated a little bit of the existing parking that we were trying to keep, but we've added some to the south of the plan. But what we really tried to do was keep intact as much of the existing infrastructure as we could through roadways, parking, entrances, and existing buildings. Zero in a little bit, we really wanted the plaza, the entrance to the building to be something that was special and unique and really welcoming to people in a place where it was clearly indicated where they needed to go. This would be the drop-off location for people who are dropping participants off or visitors, and obviously the main entry into the building. We also wanted it to be a place where people could walk out of the building, get some fresh air, and enjoy spending time right outside the structure. Then looking at the overall site, some potential future development opportunities and how that might work with the sports center and put future development down the road. Again, you can see the visitor center here in the bottom left of the screen, Woodlands Conference Center. Those structures are staying. The Woodlands Hotel is also staying. But this kind of gives some relationship to where the sports center is and what some future opportunities might be it a performance venue, a phase 2, sports, aquatics, ice. The design allows for future expansion and growth of this complex. All right, now inside the building, looking at the floor plan. Again, we're at 12 basketball courts that is convertible to 24 volleyball courts. It's approximately 114,000 square feet of open, clear span space. That allows this venue to be used for a wide variety of activities and events, sports, conferences, trade shows. There's a lot that can go in this building. It's not encumbered by any kind of structures in the inside. The building can be divided off and sectioned between the curtains and the cord dividers, which would allow for a Wednesday night there to be basketball and volleyball and dodgeball activities, or on a weekend, a large-scale basketball, volleyball, wrestling event. To the right of the plan, you see the entrance to the main part of the building. The areas in purple, this to work appropriately here. right there is our proposed Ninja climbing gym area. We think that this is going to be a great asset to the venue on the weekends when there is a big tournament there that kids and siblings can play in, but it's also going to be a nice draw during the week for local residents, and people can come and participate in activities in this structure. Nice big lobby area, kind of opens up to the food and beverage spaces, the servery, the kitchen space. We added a lot of multi-purpose flex rooms that would allow corporate events, community events, different spin-offs and activities related to the tournaments that would happen on the weekend or just weekday community events. So in the back right-hand corner of the facility is a big multi-purpose space. It can be divided into to two or one large. It also can flow out into the gathering space to kind of make that gathering space a larger area to utilize. We don't want there to be pinch points. We wanted people to be able to really get around the venue without having to deal with pedestrian traffic. As we come down the long side of the building, you can see it kind of steps down into the corridor that allows access onto the court space. There's some flex rooms, restrooms, the facility administration office is right here, ticket box, and security areas. Heading plan west, we continue to see some additional meeting space areas until we get out to the patio space, and we'll look a little bit more at this in depth, which will be a nice feature for this venue and really unlike anything in the country when it comes to these types of sports centers. Far left of the screen, you'll see the area for the rollout conversion turf system. Similar to what we saw in New Balance, this will be a system that will roll out across the entire venue. The way that this is being proposed right now is it's a mounted system to the floor that can be covered by a curtain system when it's not in use, but when it's in use, it'll be rolled out over the entire facility. And then some storage areas planned north, as well as just to the east of the court space, and to allow for equipment, janitorial equipment and things like that. Heading up on the mezzanine, it's basically just the south side, the south plan side here, but it does have some really nice overlook views to the court and the lobby space, some additional flex rooms and meeting spaces. This will be a great place to host all kinds of events and activities. To the far left of the plan is a large conference room that overlooks the court space. This will be a great area to host tournament directors and events right holders to really showcase the venue and showcase what their tournament or event could look like. And that opens up onto the balcony area that overlooks the complex, and you'll see in the renderings, it's a really nice feature that I think people are really going to enjoy. We did want to highlight quickly some of the flexibility of this venue. This shows the 12 basketball courts with the associated 24 volleyball courts. This is the 36 pickleball courts. In essence, you're getting 3 pickleball courts per basketball court. So this venue could host large pickleball tournaments on a weekend, or it could host weekday programming for pickleball enthusiasts during the week. Could also be a venue for hosting wrestling tournaments. This would be a great area to host the state championships. And we're showing 32 wrestling mats here. It could be a venue that you could probably get some more in there, but it would be a large facility for hosting a wrestling tournament. So looking at the turf option now, it's being designed in a way that it can actually roll out over half of the venue to really flex the space, where you could get a small-sided soccer field on one side and still do pickleball on the other. Or you could have basketball and volleyball court space and a small-sided soccer field. And then you could look at having, if you roll it out over the entire field, you could have 3 small-sided soccer fields, and really creating a flexible venue that could host a wide variety of activities. All right, so the outside of the building. This is looking from the parking lot, the new entrance parking lot at the main entrance to the building. It's going to be the best looking sports center in the country. It is phenomenal. The architecture is amazing. The brick and metal and wood combination is really outstanding. And as I said, there's nothing like it in the country when it comes to sports facilities. You can see the rock wall climbing area in the back. It would be a visible amenity that would really draw people in and get them excited to participate in the activities. A closer look at the venue, the entrance. You can see the box office in the background, a nice conference room up top, and just a really welcoming entrance into the space. Just a quick look at some of the features, architecturally speaking. Nice, as I mentioned, nice combination of metal and brick. And we're kind of going around the building now as we make our way to the balcony and patio area. There's the prominent balcony patio. This is going to be a phenomenal space. This will be a space that could be rented out for corporate events and activities, and really could be a revenue generator. And it also enhances the experience of those who are participating in events and activities and makes it very unique. This is the north side of the building. The Architectural Review Board has came back and asked us to enhance this side of the building a little bit more, so that's where you're seeing this brick. And before it was metal panel all the way down, so we've enhanced it with some brick and architecture to dress up that north end of the building. And as future development comes, I think they'll see that this is going to be a nice view from this side with what we've got here. Coming around the building, we start to get to the back side, the load in, load out, kind of the business end of the structure with roll-up doors, the mechanical systems, the storage areas, and this is looking at it from the other angle. One of the benefits that we've seen is the way it's located, the location. There's a nice landscape tree buffer, natural buffer that's already there between Bypass Road and the back of this venue. So you really can't see the back of the venue, but this is a well-designed logistical space that will help with the operations of the venue. Back up to the front here, just to recap all the way around. And as long as the video works, we'll show you just a quick fly through the building. We're able to maintain Visitor Center Drive as kind of the main corridor through the campus. I think that space right there, especially as more development comes online, is going to be a really nice feature and play well with future opportunities. This is hot off the press. We just got this. This is an interior look of the lobby. You can see on the right-hand side are some of those climbing area rooms. To the back, which you can't really see, would be the multi-purpose room, but this is just as you would have walked into the lobby space. The court space would be to the left, and the reception desk is right there on the left-hand side. Just to recap again some of the economic impact numbers, this was provided by HVS as part of their March 2021 study. They projected 245 plus jobs, $1.3 million in incremental taxes, 42,000 room nights, 560,000 annual visitors, and $21 million of economic impact, which are very strong projections. We have provided Victus's operating pro formas that they did as part of 2021. When it was based on the original scope of about 160,000 square feet, and showing the net income for revenues and expenses. If there's detailed questions at the end, we can come back to this, and Walter from Victus is here to address those. And we've also provided the new assumptions based upon a 200,000 square foot venue and the current design. So showing a couple different scenarios here. One includes programming, kind of in-house programming, and the second one does not, and what those net income projections would be for that. We can come back to this if there's any questions. So now probably the question everyone's been waiting for, the cost. Our original budget was $53,122,000, which again, that was based on the 160,000 square feet. During the interim agreement, we were asked to add these scopes you see here, the 40,000 square feet, the architectural enhancements, the conversion turf system, the climbing rock and ninja gym areas, and then part of our building shift, we also had some adjustments with site, and the building got a little bit bigger, so we included some additional money for the kitchen allowance to make sure that design was adequate to support the new venue size, and that new number, and it was coming in as we were walking in the door. Some of these final numbers is at $79,981,000. Right now, for schedule, we've got an updated schedule that we'll show tomorrow and in the corresponding jurisdictions, but we needed to make a couple adjustments. But we're anticipating completion in Q1 of 2026. Some of that's going to be dependent upon the review process from the ARB, which we are in right now. Actually, tomorrow we go back for our second conceptual review, and again, permitting and planning. So we're hoping within the next 30 days or so we'll have a better idea of those timelines. But we feel confident that if we can get through those reviews in relatively ordinary order, we can hit a Q1 2026.
And also contingent upon the locality's commitments.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah. So at this time, we'll open it up for any questions that you have. I can go back. I can flip to slides if you want to go back and look at something. Like I said, you might ask me a question that I might defer to one of my partners here to answer.
So in the 79, what does that include as far as, does that include the equipment, the bleachers, the netting, backboards, or what does that include?
So that includes all the fixed athletic equipment, ceiling-mounted basketball goals, volleyball stanchions, curtain dividers, and it includes a certain amount of bleachers. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 36 bleachers, but a certain amount of the tip and roll bleachers that would be associated to be able to house enough participants to watch basketball and volleyball tournaments.
I do think that's one thing we need to make sure before we present. We know that other number, whatever that number is, billions.
For the kind of the FF&E?
Yeah.
Yep.
Know that number to be able to say, because I don't want people to expect that 79 is going to open the door and we're getting everything we want. What is that number that we need to add to it that it's not included in 79? Because that's the real number.
Couple comments. And these are mainly for the, as this is a trial run kind of reaction.
Absolutely.
I can imagine somebody being curious with a building of this scale. What has the design team taken into account in terms of green building design, energy efficiency, things like that? Is there anything in that category that is worth commenting on?
Yeah, I'll answer this, and I can let Tripp maybe follow it up if he feels like he needs to. But there were no lead requirements as part of this project, but what we've tried to do is design. I mean, a lot of the code standards now include a lot of sustainable features with the mechanical systems, and so we've tried to do the best we can to design a facility that is sustainable without it significantly increasing the costs.
Yeah. My suggestion is you might want to just include a point like that
Okay.
in your presentation. There'll be people that care about that.
Okay.
I liked your list of why the costs went up from the original number. Would it be wise to also just say that, and we think we've got a handle on construction inflation costs and this, because is
Yep.
part of it just that?
Oh, yeah.
Addition, and I think you ought to maybe say that if that's true.
Absolutely. Yep.
Last thing, and others might disagree on this, but if I was sitting here watching this for the first time, I would want to see that picture at the beginning,
Okay,
even if it's just a flash of this is what this thing is going to look like, and then go into, all the detail and then come back out to that, rather than looking at a two-dimensional, here are the courts and here's the space, and you're halfway into the presentation before you see the most striking
okay.
rendering. I don't know, others may feel differently.
Neil, would you have it at the beginning of what we say, so it's the first slide, or would you just have it at the beginning of where Rick starts? Or do you care? We had 3 or 4 entry slides about the history.
I'm not sure.
That's sort of like you, I like to see it sooner than later, and then let Rick talk through it and bring it back to the end, but.
So we did have it as part of our cover slide, but I think what you're saying is create its own slide.
Or just let it sit there for a minute,
Yeah, okay.
At some point, whatever makes sense in the.
Well, Rick, we've got this intro of 3 or 4 slides that one of us intends to do at our meetings, and so whether it sits there at this first intro or not, it would sit there a minute. In Rick's presentation, it might be dead space if he gets to it. And
Yeah, I'll see how it works for you, and.
But Rick, maybe it's that slide right there without the language on it, it's just the slide.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna already sort of introduced it to get to that point, I think.
Are you saying that you want to move it up to your slides?
No, I
or
think
wait
I
till
can
we get-
maybe stick with you. I think Neil's point, that it was sort of blended, that's your first slide, right?
That's our first one.
So
correct.
if you made that the brighter rendering and sort of your opening comments of introduction of who you are and the team, I think that slide, because it's shaded a little,
Yeah.
takes away from the vibrance of the last slide you were showing. So I think you doing it there is early enough in the presentation. It might just be you move the words to the bottom and you brighten it back up.
Brighten it back up, yep.
And
we
then
can
while
do
you're
that.
introducing the team and who you are, whatever that intro is, we've got the rendering, and then we come back through it.
We can do that.
My only comment, I think for us, the shifting of it was significant. Is that relevant for our boards?
It's not for mine.
I think the only people that are going to be upset that or know that it shifted are us, mostly, right? And other than it added some cost, I think that's explainable if somebody asks us that. But I don't think there's value in talking about the shift, because then we'd be talking about like it's a secondary choice. It's still a very good location. I think it's going to be a very nice facility, and I don't think anybody's going to know we shifted it but us.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's a great point.
It probably opens the door to more questions than we really want.
Yeah, Tom and I were sitting there while you were in a closed session, kind of walking through it and thinking, is that pertinent for these conversations? So,
I think I've
you for
told my
answering.
board, I assume most of our elected officials probably know it, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's relevant to the project.
Nothing we can do about it either.
it's true. Okay, we can do that. We'll take that out.
On that center section, in the middle of the front face of the building.
I'll pull up a better image.
Yeah. I go a few more, I guess, as you pan down. Yeah, that, right there on the left side, that's just, that's not an exit or entrance, that's just on the left side there. If you go one more slide, it
No,
might be the
it's
same.
not.
No, maybe
Yeah,
it's-
so,
Underneath,
Yeah,
that is.
That is,
Yeah,
but the
correct.
piece in the center is
That's what we
aesthetic,
could say.
correct.
break up the long building and
Yeah,
the
what you're
glass.
seeing there, and it's probably, we can probably look at this video, and
No,
we
I
can
just-
stop it, but you're seeing one of the meeting spaces. So
Okay.
that's one of those rooms.
That-
Right.
Okay,
That
there,
space,
okay.
yeah, is one of the meeting rooms that has nice big windows in
And
it.
the people aren't either. I feel
Yeah, I
really
just,
bad.
I didn't see the side, I said, that can't be an exit, I understand why it's there, both of those. Okay,
I feel really bad for the people walking and the bicyclers that are moving but don't get anywhere.
yeah, well, and the guy keeps pedaling even after the video stops.
That's gotta be really frustrating.
I want to know, is that a animated drone that did this? I mean, it's an animated, you have a little animated drone that did it?
It's built in a 3D model, and then you use the model to go around like a drone.
So Rick, when you get to the end, ask for questions. I do think while you're at the podium, for me, it'd be appropriate for you to ask questions of anything you've covered. You're going to give it back to me, and we're going to talk about the financing piece of it versus you,
Correct.
right? So,
Correct.
again, if they get into that, I'll try to bring them back to waiting until we get done with you. And question on the facility, the design, the
Yeah, so
development. But
we have some slides at the end. Add a little bit.
right. I just know his last slide said questions, which is fine. I just don't want him to get, okay, so what's it costing us? Because we won't have answered that yet. which I think is okay. I think that's
So
okay.
these last two slides, outlines what we just talked about. Financial commitments for both sides, operating and the capital. And then what we're asking from the jurisdictions.
Later in December, or in December, right?
Everybody on their own schedule. Rick, I think it was John asked about the FF&E number, and then Scott and I were having a little bit of a sidebar, and what I said is you've sent me some numbers that are comparisons from other facilities, but I don't know that we're gonna have that number, John, in any reasonable time frame, because it's largely gonna depend upon what we decide to put in it. I think what we can say is it's gonna live within the budget that gets approved. So there's not a scenario where we come back and say, it's gonna cost 82 on the capital side. We're just gonna have to figure out how to live within the money that we have available. That's why I'm thinking that initial year's worth of the operating costs hopefully will help buy that down. Plan.
So just to continue on that, electronics, the security, the video stuff that was talked about, the cabling, all of that part was included in this 79? Because everything may be 100,000 or 500, but it's going to add up to $1 million or $2 or $3. So I guess that was my question is, I know we won't have that answer tomorrow, but just more for what we need to plan on, whether it's within our means here on the authority. At some point, we're going to have to put more into this after we open the door. So whatever that number is, we just need to be prepared to do that. And because the detail is what's in that 79 million.
Yeah, and
What's not in it, and that we need to be prepared to pick up.
Right.
The day we open or a year later, can we limp through that first year? So that was more.
I think it's,
And I guess in other facilities that have been recently purchased, is that a 5% number or a 10% number? Or is
he
it
can answer.
all over the place?
I know,
Brian had something
I can only
that couldn't
speak
be
to
changed.
like Virginia Beach, for example, and that was about a $5 million equipment. But some of that was also track related that this venue's not gonna have, and it was a pretty substantial amount of money on the track side. So I don't have an answer for that.
But the turf is in this 70.
Yeah.
The turf is, correct, yeah, the turf number is built in. And what you're not seeing here is our team's got, over 200 documents now, pages worth of design documents. There's a matrix that's been put together that shows responsibilities, what's in, what's not. That's all gonna kind of get handed over that you're not seeing here. That's part of the entire 35% deliverable package. But we just didn't know how much
When
detail.
we get to the 35%, we'll know what we need to,
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
see that number.
Yeah, it's clearly delineated, yes.
Okay. So I think the response tomorrow, Scott, would be, there's some other numbers that we're gonna,
Yeah, but we're not coming back to our board for them. We've got them incorporated into the authority's financial plan.
Any other thoughts? So the idea is to sandwich this in between, or with the punchline, which is the financial commitment piece. And this matches what we talked about. And then just a reminder of what they have to do. That's it?
We'll make those changes and adjustments.
Okay, so the plan is Victus won't speak unless there are questions about the economic model. And that would include questions about economic impact, not just operations.
Talking about essentially the based on our projections, so we can comment on that.
All right, so any notes on that topic, just so they have them? I know that one of the common elements of feedback from the presentation that we had from HVS and Victus before was focused too hard on the operating losses of the facility and not enough on how that gets made up in indirect spending. And so just keep that in mind if you find yourself at the podium. I think it's important that we're as honest as we can be about expectations for the facility's revenues, but we've also got to talk about why are we doing this then?
I'm almost sure when we get to our board, we'll have at least one board member asking those questions, wanting to be comfortable that we thought about the cost benefit. And to me, I always start with the macro versus the micro. We're doing this for the macro cost benefit, and we all understand that just for the facility itself, it's a different calculus.
Yeah, you have to take the totality of what's being considered from a financial standpoint. It's not just the operating revenues and expenses, but it's the economic impact that it's going to have to the surrounding communities.
And then I think it's fair to say, just so you're prepared, at city council, at the board of supervisors meetings, whether it's the elected officials or a member of the public, somebody is going to reference the recent article in the Virginia Gazette about Virginia Beach Sports Center. And so we just need to be ready to address that when that question comes.
So, well, I was just going to say this, we've included this. Now after going through it, we probably need to push it back behind even your slide, the last slides. But this is kind of a breakdown of some of that if we need to go into that, in which Walter's prepared to do.
Hidden slide.
Yeah, hidden slide in the back, yeah.
I will be very surprised if it doesn't come up somewhere.
I think the question that is more likely from our side is going to be, everybody's opening these things, why is this one going to still work? Henrico's got theirs, it's just opening. Virginia Beach has been open a couple years, and as long, again, I think we've got a good response to that, but I haven't heard a lot of rumblings based on the Virginia Beach finances on my side. I may be surprised tomorrow, but we'll see.
I expect at city council it'll come from a member of the public, is my guess. It might be a city council person that asked, but I fully expect there'll be comments at the podium about, why are you doing this? Didn't you see this article?
Our meeting tomorrow doesn't allow public comment. So
Oh, really?
the questions tomorrow will only be from my board.
Same for ours, first one.
Okay.
So the public comment would happen in the follow-up meeting?
Our second meeting where we do public hearings is our public comment, public hearing meeting. So our business meeting, there isn't public comment.
Same.
So Drew, to that point, if a member of the public gets up here and makes that statement, we don't have to respond to that. It's only if city council member asks a question.
In our case, if the mayor were to ask for that to be answered, which he would not do in the moment.
Right.
He would wait till everybody has spoken, close the public hearing, they'd be doing their thing, and then he might say, that was an interesting question, what do you have to say about that?
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Rick, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, under new business, we've got consideration and action regarding the proposed financing plan for the proposed regional sports center. And as you all have seen in the presentation, it matches our discussions to date. I think we've got a few minor changes to make to the MOA and the transmittal letter. But other than that, I hope that we are ready for the HDRFA to approve this plan of finance. Discussion, comments, motion.
So I'm prepared to make the motion, Mr. Chairman. And so are we dealing with 10.1 and 10.2 separately?
I think separately was the vision.
Okay. So I guess the motion for 10.1 would be that the board approve a recommendation to be communicated to the three elected bodies for a financing plan of action with some of the minor tweaks that we went over with legal counsel during closed session. That cover 10.1?
I think so.
I'll second it.
Ms. Hutton? Aye. Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Trivett?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex?
Aye.
Item 10.2 is consideration and action regarding the request for locality support and commitment to the design, cost, and financial plan for the proposed regional sports center project at the Colonial Williamsburg Visitor Center site. This one is really just a direction to me, approval to me, to transmit a letter formally requesting participation based on the financing plan that we just approved.
Well, I'd make that motion.
Second.
Ms. Hutton? Aye. Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Trivett?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex?
Aye.
All right, next on our agenda is everybody's favorite moment. Comments from Neil.
Yeah, so I think this, unless we have a called special meeting, this is my last meeting on this group, and I want to thank all the members of the board for all your hard work. It's been a pleasure. I think we've moved the ball down the field on this important project. It'll be very good for the region, and many of the people in the audience have also worked on it very hard, and I want to thank all you all. I've enjoyed getting to know you and appreciate the work, and I'll still be watching as a citizen, calling me if I can be helpful.
Someday playing pickleball.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you, Neil. We appreciate your service.
And Mr. Chair, I don't want to get too far with comments towards Neil at this point, except to say I appreciate working with him, his work here. I hope we'll have an opportunity in the coming weeks to say a little more in depth, but Neil's provided a lot of guidance and insight and thoughts, and again, I appreciate his viewpoint on things as well, so thank you, Neil.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Ditto.
Right, next up is adjournment.
Favorite part.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Ms. Hutton. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Mr. Trivett.
Aye.
Mr. Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax.
Aye.
We are adjourned.